Hello, everyone. Oh my God, thank you very much. I'm really happy to be here today with you. This is a really exciting day, and yeah, I'm really honored to welcome you on the Context path by Estimote. My name is Marcin. Marcin Klimek. I'm a lead developer at Estimote, and today I would like to discuss with you the term of context. What is it? Why it's so important? How can we incorporate that context information into the apps? Yeah, so it will be quite exciting. I hope you will get a better feeling about the subject. It won't be very technical, so there won't be a lot of lines of code, so don't worry about that. But the first question, who is actually familiar with Estimote or Internet of Things, this kind of stuff? Apart from the Estimote team, not many people. Go. Awesome. Okay, so I think it will be very informative for you as it is some kind of introduction to the subject. Yeah, so let's start. I have a remote somewhere. Okay, so the first term that I want to introduce, and I guess some of you heard about it, is Internet of Things. And that's actually a starting point for us at Estimote, and it should be for you, as this is some kind of projection of the future. So there is a concept that in the future, and I guess it's not very far future from today, we are going to change our life a little bit thanks to the technology. And the reason of that is that in the future, the devices, a lot of devices around us, they all will be connected to the internet, or let's say the network, and they will, first of all, aggregate all the data about the world. So they will do things that we are actually doing right now, like noting the weather, history, and this kind of stuff. But they will do that much more smart. And in addition, the information will be much more precise, because we as a human, we are creative beings. We don't like to do repetitive jobs, or at least more of us. And that's why the machines are much better in that area. And they are not bored about that, and they just like do that. So in the future, they will collect all that data. They will store that data somewhere. And what's even more important, they will be able to connect with each other and interact with each other. And what's even more important, they will be able to serve us thanks to that data. And if you think about that concept, it's really nice, because today, of course, they are helping us a lot in many different tasks, but we always need to, let's say, initiate the contact. So, of course, they can give us a lot of data, they can help us in many different situations, but in every single one, we just need to ask them to do that. And in the concept of Internet of Things, they're actually doing that automatically even. So they don't need to ask us about some things, they will just proceed, and they will just do the best choice for us. Okay, and why it's possible right now? First of all, there is a lot of mobile devices. That market is really huge right now. We have different platforms, of course, but all the devices are really powerful. They are connected to the internet. They can do really complex calculations. They can project graphics. They can analyze sound and do all that stuff. So they are really powerful, and they are small. And what's even more important, they are very personal. So they are always with you, in the bed, in toilet, wherever. They understand, and they are trying to figure out what you are doing. They can analyze that a little bit right now, but they are everywhere. And that's a crucial device, actually, if you think about Internet of Things. The second subject is our applications. So, of course, the hardware and the platform is not enough. We need to have possibility to use that data, modify it, collect it, and do other stuff. And that's where application came. We have a lot of applications, of course. All of you are using them. They can do many different things, sometimes crazy, sometimes less crazy. Yeah, but they're really awesome, and usually they help us a lot. Yeah. And the third part of the Internet of Things projection are connected devices. So of course, we have our center of the world, our smartphone, but we actually need to have the sensors around the world and some kind of controllers to help us interact with them. And as you can see on the picture, there are a couple of them right now at the market, but the market is growing really fast right now. If you look at the hardware startups, there is really a lot of them. There are a couple of reasons why they are emerging so quickly right now. And the reason is that the entry level to the technology is much, much lower right now. We have prototype boards like Arduino or Spark Core or many others. We have 3D printing that is helping us to build some kind of mechanical parts or enclosures or this kind of stuff. We have a lot of sensors. We have a development platforms. So the software that is really easy to understand. You don't need to work in the low level to do some things. It's super easy. That's why we are prototyping and building a lot of stuff. And thanks to projects like Kickstarter, for example, we are able to monetize and build that stuff in the mass production. And that's awesome. And that's important because without that, it won't get popular. And right now, it's super easy, really. There's a lot of projects, even in Poland, that are very successful at Kickstarter, or Polak Potrafi, for example. Yeah, and it's really possible. So the devices are emerging, and in combination with all the other things, they are completing that story of Internet of Things and that vision of Internet of Things, allowing us to execute it and get advantage on it. But there is one another very important part of that concept, and that's the part that we are exploring a lot at Estimote, and it's called context. Because if you think about that entire network, entire set of devices, of course they can interact with each other, they can collect data, they can do many different things, but at the end of the day, what they need to do is support you. And to do that, they need to understand your actual context. So they need to understand what is the situation that you are currently in to take the certain action that is actually relevant to that situation. So it's really, really important to allow all those devices to understand what's happening at the current moment. Where are we? With whom are we? This kind of stuff. And if we know that, let's think, I would just do the simple experiment. I have 5 apps from the App Store, the actually existing apps, that we'll just go through, and we can just think for a moment about them. I'm really curious what are your thoughts also. So if you have any ideas, just take them loud and give it to the public. Yeah. So let's start with Wunderlist. So generally the to-do lists. And I was thinking for a while about this project, and it's really interesting because right now the to-do list is mainly the program that allows us to store some kind of a to-dos and then proceed through them. But what happens if there's a context? So if the program actually can understand what we are actually doing, especially in terms of the tasks that we actually defined before. And if you think about it, you can see that this actual application can transform from the dummy notebook or something like that into very powerful assistant. So it shouldn't just keep the list. It should help you to go through that list and complete all that tasks. That's what's important, and that is what the final experience should be. So if you think about that, if there is a task that, for example, you need somebody to help you, the application can automatically detect if you are next to that person. And then it can come up with the information, okay, you can do that task now because you have the person next to you. Or maybe you need some kind of a tool, hammer or something, and when you are shopping, it can automatically notify you, hey, there is a task that actually requires hammer, so buy one. You are just next to it. And a lot of modifications. Any idea from the audience? What other things can be done with tasks? Silence. Okay, so maybe the rest will be easier. Let's go. The second one. This is the example of sleep cycle. So the application that is measuring your sleep. This is a really nice tool, and it actually quite works. I was testing it for a while. But it's also, it requires a lot of your attention. If you forgot about turning it on in the evening, it's a little bit painful. You are working up in the morning and you're late and you don't remember about that. So it's a little bit complicated. If the app actually has a content, it's much better for it to understand the situation. So for example, if you're approaching the bedroom, then you can automatically be notified about that fact, and it can remind you that okay, you're just lying out in the bed, so maybe turn on the clock, right? That's the very first thing. Additionally, in the morning, for example, I spend when I'm waking up, I spend something like 15 minutes just reading the emails and just going through the Facebook and other things. So application actually can understand that as well. So if I'm still near the context of the bed, then it can actually figure it out, okay, this guy is spending 15 minutes in the morning doing some stuff still in the bed. So maybe I should move, for example, the waking hour a little bit earlier. Why not? So this kind of functionalities are possible with the context. Another application, or even group of application related to places. And that's really awesome stuff because they actually are very powerful and can give us a lot of advantage. If you think about places like Chiboshu shop, bar, restaurant, anything like that, then it can, first of all, of course, the app can detect that, okay, you are in the context of a restaurant. But it's very general. And we can do that based on GPS right now, so it doesn't matter. But what's more important is that it can also detect much more detailed context. So if you are at the cashing desk, if you are at the bar or sitting at the table, or maybe dancing at the floor. And based on that information, the particular context, it can take another actions. Like if you are dancing right now and there is a beautiful girl dancing next to you, maybe it can match you. Why not? Right? It's a little bit creepy, probably, but yeah, it's possible. If you are sitting at the table, then it can serve you the menu of that restaurant. And then it can automatically inform waiter, okay, that's the guy, he ordered that. So it's super easy for the waiter to find out the place where he should serve the dish. So there's really a lot of possibilities in terms of places and venues, even like this conference, that can benefit from music context. Music. Music is also very deeply in us, and we are listening a lot. But also, it can, usually the music differs, depend on the place or mood or situation that you are currently in. So if you are in the car, for example, it may be a little bit more energetic. If you are working at the office and there is some context next to your desk, it's easy for the app to serve a little bit different music. Or if you are at home in the evening with your girlfriend or wife, it's also super easy for app to figure it out. And then, based on that, put some romantic music or something like that. So there's a lot of possibilities in terms of serving the context in even actually existing applications. Another story are the games, and they're especially the city games and this kind of place-based games. They are becoming popular. Recently, there is a very popular game called Sherlock the Network. It's a really nice game based in London. But it's also, the first problem is that it's really location dependent. So you can see that it may be interesting to be able to put the context not exactly related to the place, but also in the different places. But what's more important, in this kind of experience, it's super easy to create some kind of smart mechanism for the game. So if you are running around the city, of course there are some tasks or some mysteries that you need to solve. But based on the context that the players are in right now, it can also do some additional things for you. For example, if the game is seeing that two different teams are approaching the same mystery, the same quiz to solve, then it can automatically rebuild a little bit the plot. So it will behave a little bit different. They will put some competition, additional competition in the tasks or something like that. So the context is very important also in this kind of applications. Okay, and so the question is, we know that the context is very important. We understand that, and we actually see that it benefits us a lot. It gives us a lot of opportunities, and I truly believe that it will be very important, especially if you think about the Internet of Things. But the question is how to deliver that right now to the users to just start building that, because we see on right now that many products that are Internet of Things related, they are evolving right now quite fast, and to make them really smart, we need to have that actual context and the way to put that context into the world. There are a couple of technologies on the market right now that we can use, and we are actually using them right now in many different situations. There's RFID, NFC, QR codes, but the problem with all those technologies is that it's generating a lot of friction. So it's not super easy for us. If you think about this kind of context-based technology, you should expect that it's transparent for you. You don't need to think about it. You don't need to think that you're standing next to the poster, or you don't need to think that you're at the cinema right now and checking on Foursquare or something like that. It shouldn't work that way. It should be super transparent for you, and it should just come to you automatically, showing you that, okay, that's your context, I understand that, or even not showing you at all. And that's the place where actually beacons were introduced. And Estimote, of course, is building the beacons, and we are working very hard on that technology. And the beacons are actually, you should think about them like about the lighthouse that is just broadcasting the information all the time. So it's some kind identifying the current context, current place, and showing that it may be relevant. The beacon as a device is very simple, yet powerful, and that's actually the small computer. Right now, of course, the main thing that it's doing is just broadcasting the power, but you all need to remember that that's the very, very first stage of the project, and that's the basic functionality that we need to deliver. But as you can see on the slide, and also you can play with the beacons around, I think here even, is that we are still trying to incorporate as much context information as possible to this device. Of course, it's quite powerful. As I mentioned, there is ARM processor, some kind of RAM. But what's very important is that we are trying to build into those devices some kind of a sensors. So if we have accelerometer and we have temperature sensor right now, and you can truly benefit from that in many different ways. Accelerometer can give you from that crazy idea like counting how many times you're pulling up the cup with coffee to measuring engagement on the product in the store. There is really a lot of different solutions, like measuring how many times the door were open or the fridge were open. So it's really giving you some additional information that you can use to describe that context better. With temperature, you can see that, okay, it's hot or it's cold. So based on that additional context information, you can modify a little bit the action that you want to take. Yeah, so it's super important to understand that these devices, and probably in the future they will be much, much more powerful, they will just give you very detailed information about the context you are currently in. But we just need to start with a basic idea. And as you can see here, there is some kind of misunderstanding sometimes that the beacon is something like a small server. So actually it's not. It's sending just an ID right now that you can pick up, and then the phone, the actual device, is responsible to connect this actual ID to the context that it relies on. So let's have a quick look how the actual packet looks like. And if you are thinking about the context, what Apple introduced actually with the iBeacon protocol, it's quite smart because it's giving you the way to define the particular context on the different precision levels. So as you can see, we have 3 values: proximity, UID major, and minor. And those values are the precision levels in terms of describing the context. So if you are thinking about this conference, for example, there may be the general proximity UID that is used by all the beacons around. And then it allows you to detect by notification, for example, that cloud of or the group of beacons, and welcome you, for example, on board when you are approaching the conference. Then you have a major value that may be sticked to the actual rooms, let's say. So there is one in the eating venue. There is one in every single room, and the majors are different. So they are showing you, okay, that's the conference and that's the room. And the last part of the packets with a minor value can be used to get even more detailed information about the context. For example, in this room, there may be one beacon next to the cameraman. There may be one beacon next to me. There may be a beacon even under every single seat. So it gives you, let's say, option to interact with the presentation. It's possible, and it's not that far from today. So you can use it quite smart. Of course, it depends on the situation, but you have that flexibility with the beacons. And as I mentioned before, if you think about the beacon as a context provider, you cannot think about the beacon itself, about the device. Device is only the part of the entire story. Of course, it may be much smarter, but still, it needs to connect to the world, connect to that network, connect to the internet, to your phone, to really serve you well. And of course, there are some hardware providers, for example, right now that are giving you just a beacon. And of course, you can use it. You can try to build that kind of platform yourself. But in general, what really matters, and what I believe really matters, is that you, as the people that are going to use that, you should get that experience quickly. And it's really taking a lot of time to build the entire ecosystem, entire platform to do that. Of course, it's possible, and we are doing that. But it's taking a lot of time, and there is a lot of tricky places and tricky problems that you need to solve in terms of making that smooth. So that's why in here, as you can see, it's not only the beacon, but it's also the SDK that we are serving for the mobile devices. There is a cloud that is actually responsible for serving you the different kind of informations. And that entire platform is actually, that's the whole product that you should have to use the context in your app. It's super easy then, because you can define different contexts. You can think about, if you try to hard code information in the phone, it's a little bit tricky because the context may change. And it's not always the same. Sometimes you can think about the moving beacons. That's a very exciting concept. It's not that only you can approach the context, but that context can approach you. So if you think about the buses, for example, if we plant a beacon in the bus, then, and you're standing on the bus stop, then when the bus is arriving, it can automatically notify you that, okay, that's your bus. You should enter. And you don't, you're probably reading an email or writing an SMS back then. So it's much easier for you just to be notified, okay, that's my bus, I will enter. So that's the entire platform that really matters. And in terms of the platform and in terms of the beacons in general, there are 2 very important concepts that you need to get familiar with. The first concept is monitoring. And monitoring is something like a geofencing, but for the devices. So actually, if you think about it, Apple introduced beacons to solve the actual problem. Because if you are thinking, for example, about the shops, there is one vendor that has many different shops. And to describe them all, he needs to, using the GPS, for example, he needs to define every single latitude, longitude point and some kind of region around it to have a base of all his shops. But because of the performance issues, it's not possible to, if you have 200 shops, it's not possible to define so many different, spaces in the world automatically. Of course, you can try to trick it a little bit, but still, it's not very useful. That's why they introduced iBeacon to allow people to describe the space with a single device. So it's not, fixed point on Earth, but it's actual device that can be multiplicated, that can be planted, that can be moved. So it's very flexible for the users. So in this case, the same company don't need to track all the GPS locations of their stores. They can just put a beacon inside every one of it, and that's all. It works. And monitoring allows you to discover this region, this space. So when you are entering some kind of a venue that is described by the beacon, your phone is picking up the signal. And actually, what Apple did, they built discovery process into the operating system. So your phone and my iPhone in the pocket, they are constantly looking for the beacons around. Of course, to get advantage of that information, you actually need to ask iOS to do that. So application needs to ask iOS to be notified about the situation, about the region occurrence. But it works, and it's looking for the beacon all the time, and it can constantly see your context, your situation, and notify you about that. And if you look at the code, the actual Estimote code, using our SDK, it's really super easy to start building this kind of experience. So if you have an app, if you have a project that you are actually working on right now, I'm damn sure that you are able to figure out the way to use the beacons as some kind of improvement of the user experience on your product. And as you can see, there's only six lines of code to start monitoring for that region and getting the notifications. It's really super easy. And of course, when the situation occurs, so you're entering the region, you have a really simple callback, so it's a little bit more technical right now, but it's just a simple callback to your application that, okay, that situation occurs, your user entered the actual space, so please do something about it, right? In this particular situation, you can see that we are just sending notification. Well, it's really, really basic interaction, because if you try to move a little bit back the presentation to the Internet of Things concept, you can see that that's your place when you can actually take an action. You can make some kind of decision. You can send that information somewhere, interact with other devices in that room. So when you're entering the room, this place of code can light up the lights in the room or something like that. So that's the place when you're actually able to do something about that information. And additionally, there is the second method that you can use, and it's invoked at the moment when you're actually leaving the venue. So if you want to say goodbye, it's a very basic situation. If you want to say goodbye for the user, that's your place. But you can also, make many different decisions: lock the door, open the car, and many different things. And that's only the sky that is the limit in here. You can come up with many different scenarios based on beacons. The second mechanism that you should be familiar with is ranging, and the ranging is more like getting details about the space that you're actually entering or leaving. So if you think about comparison between monitoring and ranging, monitoring is giving you just general information that somebody entered or left the actual space. But thanks to ranging, you can get the details about all the contexts that are around you. So if there is, as we mentioned in here, if there is a lot of different beacons, it can automatically detect which entrance did you use, which room can be the most interesting for you. So where is the registration desk, for example? It can just inform you about that just when you are entering the room. And thanks to that details, you can even get some basic information about the distance from the beacon that is actually describing that context. So getting that detailed information gives you option to operate and or navigate or inform user about those contexts, tell them how to approach that places, how to use them, give them some additional possibilities like controlling the experience. They can turn on or turn off something, many different things. And thanks to that region ranging, it's really possible. In addition, Apple introduced something like a zone. So based on that distance information, you can describe 3 different zones, immediate, near, and far, that actually defines let's say, the engagement level of the user. So if he is or she is quite far from the object, you can interest him or her about the place and maybe invite it to visit. If it's near or immediate, you can actually figure out that, okay, that person may be interested in that subject, in that place. So let's give him some control, or let's give him some possibilities that are related to that space. And if you look at the code, it's also very, very easy to start playing with those beacons. In here, you can see that it's also 4 lines of code that it actually asks iOS to give you the detailed information about the zone that you are entering right now. So get all the information about the context, about the possibilities you have in that venue. And also, there is only one callback that you need to handle all this context, to pick the one that you see that that the person can be most interested in, or is mostly related to his interests and this kind of stuff. So it's really, really easy to just start playing with the technology, to just build that into the product, just check how it works. Of course, there is some kind of polishing part afterwards, but to just get the basic behavior and to see how it actually works and how it can benefit you. It's the best way to just see it. And that's why the framework and everything is super simple, just to let you easily start playing with that technology and get opinion on that. If you really want to start, I'm not sure how many developers do we have in here. Any of you is developer? 1. Wow. Awesome. So I'm 2, so yeah, there's 2 of us. Okay, so to start, you just need to go to GitHub and actually start playing. You can tell all your friends, developers, and other guys. It's that easy. Just get the project from the GitHub. Just start playing with it. Just start exploring, defining the context. You will get a lot of interesting information there. We have a community portal and all other places that actually allows you to learn more and get a basic information how you can use it in your projects. There is sample projects and this kind of stuff. And at the end, there will be a Q&A. But actually, I would like to show you that it's that simple. I have an Xcode because I'm a developer. So you'll just see that if any developer that you are talking to will tell you, oh, it's super hard, you cannot use Estimote because it doesn't work, you will have a proof that it's not that hard. And as you can see, there is just one file, let's say, one class, that is required to build some kind of an experience. And as you can see, that's couple of, it's exactly the 70 lines of code, adding all the required things in the class definition. So in here, that's the very simple application that I've built just for the purpose of this event, just to show you how easy it is. So what it's doing is just something like a very basic demo of the context behavior. And actually, I have this app installed on my phone. I won't connect the cable right now because it doesn't make any sense. And unfortunately, based on the current Wi-Fi, I'm not able to show you on the screen how the application looks like, but I will show you that on my phone. So what the application is doing is just simulating some kind of a art gallery. So based on the context you are currently in, so based on the picture that you are next or painting that you are next to, it can display some additional information on this picture and all other stuff. And it's really simple. And as you can see, there is just a definition of that region, and we'll just start ranging this particular context. And then there is very simple block of code that is just making decision which painting should I display on the screen. So it's super easy, and I will just show you how it works. So as you can see, I'm just next to the brand new Estimote beacon. It's a little bit big, as you can see, but it's super new. And I'm joking, there is a beacon in here. And as you can see, there is a context of this painting, so the screen. But then when I move to the next beacon, you can see that the picture is actually changing. So there is another beacon in here, and the painting changed. I will just do that magically, so you don't see that I'm clicking anything. Oh, I'm just moving, and OK, that's the new picture that should be displayed. So it's that easy, and it's really 70 lines of code, and that's all to start playing with the beacons right now, and to start building the awesome experience that you can give to your users and engage them with your applications. So yeah, I think that's all for now. Let's move to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, I'm really happy to answer them. So thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to hear your questions. Yeah.
Any questions? OK, just a second.
Hi, I've asked my devs to create a small application for beacons,
Mm-hmm.
and I can connect with them and I see some information, and I'm asking about the battery status.
Mm-hmm.
What does it mean? Because we didn't find the description, but what we've... so what's that?
What do you mean, the battery status in terms of
the percentage
of the property
that's been shown? Yeah,
okay.
The property.
OK, so that's an interesting question, because I mentioned only the part of the story today, just to don't freak you out. But it's a good. The other part is also the good one, so don't worry about that. Because on top of that iBeacon functionality that we are giving to the users, we have also additional mode that allows you to connect to the beacon, modify its properties, and also read some kind of information from it. So this battery status is giving you, after connection, of course, it's at the beginning it's just 0, so you shouldn't figure out about that. After you connect to that device, you can actually, first of all, control it and change some settings, but also get a status of that device. So the battery level is just showing what's the level of the personal level right now of the battery is now.
Of the battery of the beacon? Of
the beacon, yeah.
Okay, so my question is, after 2 weeks of playing with the beacons, we just installed them at the entrance of our software house, and it gives a message: keep calm and work harder. The battery usage was about 30, so it's only 70% left after 2 weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So I will focus on that now. So first thing is that's the development kit, and sometimes there are some issues in terms of battery measurement, and we are working on that very hardly. We are really deep into perceiving the battery level as high as possible, and as you can see, they are glued because we deeply believe that they shouldn't die. Of course, sometimes they die, but it's not a problem right now. In terms of battery, we are working very hard to make it as getting low as possible. In your terms, probably that's just a measurement problem, and it's actually looking from the technical side, and I can tell you that honestly, it's a problem of measuring the battery level. So it's not always reliable, and sometimes it can even change in 20% or 30%. So your battery may be 95%, but still it will show 70 sometimes. You can even test that by connecting and disconnecting to the beacon a couple of times.
Right now.
Yeah, and sometimes it changes.
If you want, you can then share the data, because around 7 people are using it every day, so they are being welcomed and saying hello when they leave the work.
Yeah. Exactly. Additional thing that you should know about is that the settings of the beacon are really important. because you can adjust all the settings to the maximum, and then the time of leaving that beacon will be much lower. So you need to remember about that and just define the settings that actually applies to your situation, not over change them in the time, because that also has influence on the battery. But yeah, definitely right now there's a really small battery, and we are working very hard to just make it better, make it last longer. And definitely, there will be some announcements in the next part of the year that will give you much more possibilities in terms of battery savings. Okay, any other question?
Someone else?
Okay, there is a question there.
Okay, hi.
Hi.
It's a rather general question from me.
Okay.
What do you think about interoperability with other systems? Because iBeacon means Apple. Apple nowadays is a bad day, hitting of about, in average, 15% of saturation in Poland, and still decreasing. So the Windows Phone have a good days. Samsung is about to launching its own operating system. Android is going extremely well. Don't you think that staying with Apple, with that, I love it very much, is a brilliant concept. However, I see the risk, potential risk, that staying with Apple, you can be a niche player for this market. What do you think about it?
Yeah, so first of all, you're absolutely right. That's always the risk to stick only with one vendor of the technology. And of course, it would be extremely risky to stay on that, especially that if you think about providing the context to the wide audience, then you still know, even if Apple has more than 50%, it's still lacking 40% of the people, right? So it's not a good thing, and you can have access to that technology and you can get a context.
Come on. It's 15, not 50. In Poland, it's 15,
okay,
right?
In Poland. We are talking, okay, that's fine. Okay, 15, even that. So in that case, what we are actually focused on is bringing the context. Of course, Apple they actually made a huge hype around the iBeacon, and that's really good for us as a company, because that's showing us the place where we can start, right? But of course, other platforms as important as iOS, and especially they will become more important in the future. And there's a lot of questions about that. What are we going to do with Android, with Windows? And definitely, we need to figure it out how to support other platforms, because we cannot limit the context information just to the small group of people. Of course, in US, the penetration is bigger, so it's much easier to test on the early stage. You need to remember that it's early stage right now. You need to test with the users how it behaves. But in the future, definitely, right now we have a support for Android, and you can get SDK for Android right now. And we'll probably work on evolving that into some kind of protocol. I'm not exactly sure today if it will be the different framework for Android or Windows, or it will be the same. There are some restrictions from Apple as well, so you need to look out based on the licensing program. So it's not easy task for now, but definitely need to remember that Estimote as a company, it's not focused on iBeacon. It's not iBeacon that is actually that we are interested in. It's generally delivering the context to the users, what matters, and which technology, which vendor are we going to support. It's a different story. That's not the core thing that we're working on right now. So definitely, the Android framework is actually showing that we care about other platforms, and there is not much any other frameworks on the market right now that supports Android at the current stage. But definitely, we are just going to rebuild and improve that experience, and probably all other platforms are going to be supported as well. There are some cross-platform things like that can support multiple platforms using the same code base as well. So we are also talking to developers. We are supporting them in process of building this kind of framework. So definitely, we are going to support that in the future. But as I mentioned, early stage and Apple hypes give us a lot of advantage of being at the Apple market.
Understood. Thank you.
Any other questions?
No. Okay, so thank you very much.
Cool.
Big applause, please.
Thank you very much.